presented you with, sir, here are some ideas.
They're trying to get a clip for some form of alarmism
By which you could actually get a constitutional
well, in
amendment.
a capacity of being a big supporter, many people have said different things, but I'm not looking at that.
Do you think the MAGA movement can survive without you as its leader?
Yes, I do. No, I think we have a tremendous party. And you know what I can't name? I can't name one Democrat. I mean, I look at the Democrats, they're in total disarray. They have a new person named Crockett. I watched her speak the other day.
Oh, God.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. What immigrants do for this country, we done picking cotton.
I don't know why they thought pushing her was a good idea.
She's definitely a low IQ person. And they said, she's the future of the party. I said, you have to be kidding. They have nobody. Bernie's 87 years old or something. Biden is the worst thing that ever happened to old people.
You got to respect Trump, bro, giving a shout out to Bernie. Because he's right. Bernie's one of the only ones.
But I watch Bernie Sanders. He's a nut job, but he's still sharp. He's sharp as he's the same guy he was. He hasn't gone down. But Biden, he's the worst thing to happen to old people.
I know.
Biden is the worst thing to happen to old people.
Buddy, we have a lot of good people in this party.
Man, okay. I don't know. I mean, am I certain that Trump isn't going to run in 2028 after this? No. No, it's less likely that he just went out and said it. But yeah, I'm not certain.
Do I even have to say it? Yes, he posted this himself on May 4th.
I've been told by an insider that I will be permanently banned from Twitch.
Wow.
Within the month.
For context, this is allegedly for having called this streamer a fat piece of shit.
I will never have any pity for any soldiers. U.S. military? Who fucking who? I hope you get PTSD.
As a third party, and I could be totally uneducated and uninformed about this, and I could be wrong, but this is what I'm seeing as a American who's looking in on the situation, okay? I see that Germany has a tremendous amount of speech laws. I think that Germany has the original sin of Hitler and Nazism, and because of that, the entire culture is built around making sure that that doesn't happen again. And in the process of that, they have created a situation where even reasonable discourse about like kind of limiting or like preventing migration is viewed through the same lens as Nazism is. And I think that that's what's really radicalized people. It's that they see people coming into Germany at like a huge amount, like a lot of migrants coming into Germany at a very, very high rate. They're not assimilating with the culture. They are being violent, you know, like the whole trucks of peace thing, etc. And I do think that some degree of migration and immigration would be fine and it would be okay. And we have that here in the US, and the fact is that a lot of people do get along. But the problem is that I think there's a huge, really big difference between like migration and mass migration. Because I think migration allows people to come to another country and assimilate into the culture of that country. And then if you have mass migration, you just have basically a large group of people that's being displaced into a different place, and they just kind of maintain their own culture. I think that's kind of what happens. And so it has to be done over time in order for them to be assimilated properly into the culture. That's what I think is the case, right? I could be wrong, but that's just what logically makes sense to me. So, yeah, it's not that they're not allowed to vote for AFD. It's the AFD hasn't followed the Constitution with their political policies, and their policies in the future will lead to a less democratic society. Yeah, I mean, I understand that's what they're saying, but what I'm saying is that people have the right to... Like, this is... Here's an interesting philosophical question, right? Do people have the right to democratically vote to have less democracy?
Come on, I'll give it back.
No.
Do they or not? Not in Germany, right? Yeah, but I don't care what the who cares what the... oh wow, some old fuck that's probably dead wrote this down a long time ago. Let's base everything off of that. No. I don't care what any rule says. I don't care what any of this says at all. I only care about what I think is good and bad. That's it. Whether it's our constitution, somebody else's constitution, any law, times change. And so, is it good or not? Should you be able to or not? That's the question.
Someone scratch my back.
No, exactly. The Constitution can be altered. Yeah, you can change. Yeah, the Constitution can be altered. Same as ours. Like, that's why we have the amendments against slavery.
Too much like a bad memory.
And women to vote.
They're showing it as the strongest party in Germany. The domestic intelligence agency said the party's prevailing understanding of people based on ethnicity and descent is incompatible with the free democratic basic order.
So let me see how much support they actually have. And this is which parties currently have the most support in Germany ranked. Based on most recent available data, here's the following of the ranked list. So AFD is number 2 with 20%.
You're ready for action.
Okay. Graph of AFD support.
Armed and dangerous. This is real firepower.
Alright, let's look at this. That's old. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to take a look at it. I don't have direct access to making a graph. So it has been going... Wow.
This is real firepower.
AFD support in Germany 2013 to 2015. Oh, wow. That's a whole lot. God damn. 26%. Yeah, so it's showing 26% support. The snap federal election saw AFD use, achieve 20% doubling its 2021 result. So this was the last federal election, and this is this federal election. What about the one in 2017? 12%. So it's very clear that this is going up massively. Wow. 26% of how many parties? I think there's like 7 or something like somewhere around 7.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Polls showed it peaked at 26%.
Armed and dangerous!
In some surveys.
Relay deployed. It ain't cheap.
Wow.
The report said it saw evidence of ongoing agitation by the party against refugees and migrants, citing statements by far-right.
Well, yeah, there's agitation. They want to get rid of them. I mean, I could say that. Like, if somebody wanted to get rid of me, I would say they're agitating me. Yeah.
Yeah. Politicians in internal communications.
You can easily say that.
This is real
What does this mean for the
firepower!
AFD going forward?
We should always separate these legal instruments from necessary political debate. As you know, and as I've said time and again, a party ban procedure has very high constitutional hurdles for good reasons. That should not be ruled out, but it should continue to...
So they're probably going to they're going to try and ban the party. Well, I mean, not really they're going to, but like they're saying they're not ruling it out.
be handled very carefully. In any case, it's not something that is automatic.
Armed and this is real
Banning
firepower!
parties is extremely rare. Any attempt to do so would be a highly controversial move. But this new classification will no doubt intensify the debate over whether such a ban could be justified.
If they ban the party, oh boy. Oh boy. Bad move.
I'm a good guy who occasionally takes stuff
I think
that
if they
doesn't
ban
belong
the
to
party, that's how you get Nazis again. Like, unironically. I think the moment, like, remember what I said before, so I think that they're going to elect the new Adolf? I've been saying this for a while.
30 seconds before you attack.
Here it is.
Get ready.
Let's take a closer look at this with Professor Dr. Antje von Ungern-Sternberg, who's
somebody said this, and this is basically the way that a lot of people view it.
Happens all the time.
I am a big fan of the democratic process. No political recourse equals violence. Martin Luther King said this. A lot of other people have said this too.
4, 3,
Violence
2,
is the language of the unheard. And if people can't vote and they can't be represented, that's the reason why the Boston Tea Party happened.
So hard for surface dwellers.
They want to ban 26% of Germans? Yeah, think about that. That's insane. That's a huge amount of people. 26%?
With constitutional law at Trier University. Welcome to DW. You've called in the past for the AFD to be banned because you say it violates the principles of Germany's basic law, its constitution. Does that mean you agree with today's decision?
Oh yes, of course. I think the proceedings preparing should be initiated.
This is just me, and I think it's important to look at what the rules are. But I think the laws do not dictate morality and ethics. And so if there's a law that's being used in a way that's unethical or immoral, then that law is not valid, in my opinion. Like, I don't think there's a reason to mess with the Amazing Spider-Man! Like, I don't just have a blanket support on rules. I think it's silly to do that. So, like, Trump? Yeah, pretty much.
And I think today's report confirms our assessment that there are strong indications that the party is unconstitutional. And perhaps let me explain to an international audience that the German understanding of democracy does not ban freedom of speech, but we have a concept of freedom.
You're going to say that you don't ban freedom of speech, but now you're going to talk about the types of speech that are banned?
In democracy, due to our speech, but we have a concept of militant democracy. Due to our history, we want to defend our democracy against its opponents, and therefore, in the last resort, we also have the instrument of a party ban, but we also have this very strong instrument of the Office for the Protection of the Constitution that investigates what extremist parties do.
Right, that's very clear. Thank you for that. Is it the policies? Is it the way they talk about the policies? Is it what they want to do? What is it about the AFD, do you think, that makes it incompatible with German law?
Yeah, as you already mentioned, it's really, really difficult to ban a party unjustly so because it's a democracy's right to found new parties and also to issue controversial topics and opinions. So what's at stake is the core of our constitution. So it's human dignity, the core of human rights, basic.
I don't think that this is going to work with I don't think that this messaging is effective.
I'm good to go.
Because the problem, and this is the reason why I think the AFD has grown so much in popularity, is because if you look at human dignity and people's basic human rights, I think that that's also viewed through the lens of, for example, like, why is it that somebody is, like, having to worry about getting, like, raped, right? Why is it that you have these people who are migrants coming in and committing violence or being, you know, murderers or something like that? So it's like, don't people have a right to live in a culture, live in a society where that doesn't happen? And so if you are actively doing something that systematically makes people more unsafe, then how can you make an argument to, you know, like a human having a right to being safe? It doesn't make sense.
30 seconds.
It's too vague. Yeah, I don't think it makes sense at all.
Democracy and also the basics of the rule of law.
And what have they said or done that challenges that?
So what most of these reports focus on is human dignity. That's the stance the party takes with regards to migrants, foreigners. It sort of shows racist, ethno-cultural idea of the German people that is above, that is higher than other German citizens or non-citizens that come from a migratory background, that have another religion than the West.
Let's assume that's true. Let's assume all that's true. I think about this in the concept of like Dubai, or like Qatar or Saudi Arabia, something like that. Does Saudi Arabia, in my opinion, decide that it wants Sharia law? I think the answer is yes. I think they have that right to decide that. It's their country. They live there. They're the people that live there. They should decide how they're going. They're not a democracy, though.
This is real firepower!
Why does the vocabulary?
Judge, jury, executioner!
That's it. The law is sometimes a byproduct of that, but not always.
Than Christianity that are Muslims that have a different race. So denying those members of the population equal standing, equality is also well, amounts to denying them human dignity. That's the problem.
It's a different
one. There
one.
are other issues as well.
Yeah.
If I may continue.
Okay, by all means.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that the party and many of the adherents really works against democratic institutions and sort of delegitimizes them by not saying they work properly.
This is real firepower!
We're not going to watch this whole thing, by the way. I'm going to listen to this and then look at a few more things, and then we're going to look at some other stuff too.
Say they lie. The media lie all the time. The established parties don't work in favor of the people. So this populist.
Well, they're clearly not working in favor of the mass migration, but it keeps happening. And I think honestly a big reason for that, again, this is my limited understanding. That could be incorrect, and I'm not fully educated in this. But my understanding is that it actually comes a lot of it top down from the UN. That's why, for example, Poland has to pay a fine.
Years are also very problematic, but the problem is you have to take them down, you have to prove it, and not all of what the people want is, expressed openly. So it's good that we now have these investigatory measures that can
Judge, jury, executioner!
Don't mess with the
and find out what's really going on. But here's the thing, this is
so basically they've decided that now they can go in and spy on all of their meetings and check at everything that they're okay.
You're welcome.
Popular political party.
Oh,
something
boy.
like 24%
Oh, boy, oh,
of
boy.
the votes it took in the election. Do you believe that 24% of German voters who voted for the AfD subscribe to these notions of working against democratic institutions and working against people's dignity?
My good deed for the day.
Well, I'm not so sure. I mean, some of them probably simply feel left behind. It's, problems that many Western societies have. Contrast city and countryside, west and east.
This is real firepower!
Very different population and the worth of women and men. So that's rather general problems.
This is real
left
firepower!
behind, and they just vote for the party that's most opposed to anything that is on the established system. But others are openly...
I think there's definitely a case of that. I think part of what she's saying is true. Is that a lot of guys, and it's actually not guys, a lot of people feel like the government has effectively ignored them in favor of like foreigners for whatever reason, and in the process of that, they have decided that the government doesn't care about them and they want to change the government. Basically, like if you systematically disenfranchise people and you make them feel like their voice doesn't matter and they can't vote on things that are beneficial for them and their quality of life isn't improving, don't be surprised when they try to burn the system down. Why would people want to be okay with that?
Xenophobic, I think, and because the are openly xenophobic, I think, and because the border of what you can openly say gradually shifts,
Yeah.
they can also be more outspoken about this. And
She's referring to the Overton window and this shifting, and I think this is very true. It's true also in the United States, is that it's dramatically shifted recently, and I think that you see a lot more, you know, like very right-wing rhetoric that's not immediately removed or deplatformed, and I think that's a very big difference. They're terrified of that? Well, yeah, I mean, of course, because that's going against what they want to do, right? Or like what their beliefs are.
very problematic. And if we could sort of ban this, it would also be very helpful for the political.
I guess that would make sense. Yeah, it would be very, very helpful if you could ban the people that disagree with you. I think that's true. Absolutely.
Culture, I think.
Yeah.
Except that if you ban it, and even by demonizing the AfD in this way, as I say, a very popular political party here in Germany, don't you run the risk of disenfranchising that 24% of voters and further dividing German society?
True.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the division also comes from this rhetoric, I think. And also, as a constitutional lawyer, I have to look at the instruments that the fathers and mothers of our basic law gave us to protect.
So, well, because the book says we have to do it, then we have to do it. Well, fuck the book. What's this argument to the authority of people who are dead? What the fuck is that?
The Constitution. I mean, you can see in other countries what happens if you don't stop those anti-constitutional movements at an early stage. Already 25% is far too much. You should have started earlier trying to ban and to stop the party.
You got to admire. I mean, she just comes out and says it.
From this match.
I agree. It's also a political problem, and of course, all the political parties have to
just mask off. All the
work
way.
together to try to help solve problems, so that this feeling of being left behind and other serious issues are also solved politically. That's certainly true also.
Thank you so much for talking us through that so clearly, Professor.
Well, there it is. You know, they need to. She wants to ban the party, and it's hard to do systematically, but they want to do it, and they should have done it earlier. Okay. Well, there it is. That's pretty simple.
Professor Dr. Antje von Ungern-Sternberg from Trier University. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this decision has already become an international issue, certainly for the Trump administration. The AfD's problems caught the attention of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Posting on X, he criticized the border surveillance powers granted to German authorities. That's not democracy, he wrote. It's tyranny in disguise.
Didn't Obama do this too?
Is truly extremist is not the popular AfD, but rather the establishment's deadly open border immigration policies the AfD opposes. Secretary Rubio ended the post by saying Germany should reverse course.
I do think that again, this is an outsider's perspective, so I could be ignorant, and I probably am in some cases. It seems to me like the prime, main deciding factor is immigration. It's mass migration, and people think it's too many migrants.
30 seconds before you
Way
attack.
too fucking many.
Get ready.
That's it? Yeah, that's the main one.
Straight to our political correspondent, Simon Young. Welcome,
None of
Simon.
your business.
What does this security service designation mean for the AfD?
It means they get spied on constantly.
Some people are
And
natural
so,
heroes. I'm a natural
anyway, the
joker
AfD is the
who's
most popular party in Germany, and by far the most representative of East Germany. Now that bureaucrats tried to destroy it, the West tore down the Berlin Wall together, and now it's been rebuilt, not by Soviets or Russians, but by the German establishment. Well, there it is. That's pretty disappointing to see. I'm kind of surprised. Why are they importing non-citizens into Western countries? I don't know really what their reasoning is or why they're doing it. I mean, it doesn't really matter why. I mean, who cares why? If people don't want them there, and in my opinion, I think that if you're bringing in a bunch of people, why is it necessary for Germany that they are mass importing migrants from second and third world countries into Germany at a high rate. Is it like, okay, if we don't do this, Germany's going to fall apart? I mean, I don't really think so, right? And so it seems like such a ridiculous thing to say. Yeah, I had no idea that they actually just gave their spy agency powers to just like fucking like spy on us. Okay. Wow. Jesus. I've always thought that, like, I think that there's a huge problem in, like, Europe in general, where I think that being able to talk about ideas, I think they're so afraid of having something like World War II happening again, that they are creating rules that will, I think, inevitably lead to the rise of a new party that will cause something like World War II to happen.
Gonna be different this time.
Because once enough people feel like their voices aren't being heard and they're being disenfranchised, you have to keep in mind, like, the Nazi Party was not the most popular party in Germany when it took over, as far as I know. It was actually not super popular at all. And so the idea that you need to have a majority for this to happen, like, it wasn't like, what, 10-15%, something like that? I don't remember. They're 39%? I don't remember exactly. They won, yeah, they only had 32 votes, 32%? Yeah, so I mean, I think that's pretty 39. Okay. I might have been thinking about, like, I think the first time Hitler tried to, like, run or something. I could be wrong. So, yeah, they were giga popular. Well, I think that a lot of times, like, things like this become very popular because if you don't like them,
this is real,
right? Like, it's a Putin, for example. Like, you can't, I don't think you can accurately judge support for Putin.
This is real firepower!
Fucking Nazi parties, the Houthis, the Hamas. You can't accurately judge support for them. Exactly. Because not supporting them can result in death. And so, like, oh wow, people aren't signing up to get killed for thinking that they don't like something. Okay, what a surprise. So yeah, I don't know how you can say this, that Trump is actively threatening the sovereignty of allied nations. Meanwhile, Trump doesn't discount the country, Greenland, and Canada.
By the eye of Agamotto!
Well, here's what my opinion is on that. I'll just give you a straight, flat-out opinion. I don't fucking want Greenland in the U.S., and I don't fucking want Canada in the U.S., I don't fucking want Canada in the U.S. I don't want them in there. I don't want to have a war. I don't want to bring them in. I don't want them voting in our elections. I don't want them to have anything to fucking do with us, right? I think we can trade with them. They can do their own thing. We can do our own thing. We can be separate. That's what my opinion is. And I don't want Trump to try to take them over and make them a state. I meme about it. It's funny to talk about because it is. I think it's funny. But my actual personal material support for it is literally
more than half of the mission area. Keep going.
Like, that's it. I really talk about my own opinions on these topics because, like, actually, it's probably not true. I do sometimes. But mainly, I just try to understand why people are thinking something and why people believe something, right? And so, yeah, that's how I see it. I'm from Canada, and I wish I was in the USA. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Canada that I think would be great Americans. But overall, I think Canada has its own right to sovereignty, and I don't want to be infringed on that. And I don't think that's a good use of our resources, time, or effort. It's just simply not. We have 50,000 other problems in the world. Why are we thinking about Canada? It's ridiculous. So, yeah. Greenland wouldn't be a state. Yeah, do you hear about the new Canadian Prime Minister? Yeah, I saw that guy. And, anyway, let's see if there's any more information about this. I don't know if there's any new information at all about them. In general, like, I don't necessarily support the AFD party. I don't know enough about them to really say that. But what I do support is that I do think this mass migration stuff is really bad. I do. Everything that I see about it, everything firepower! About the mass migration, it has been almost universally negative in a way that I can't see how people would support. But I think the reason why a lot of people support the mass migrations, I'm going to be honest, is because they're afraid not to. I think that a lot of people are afraid to not say we don't want this to happen because they don't want to be painted as a racist or a Nazi or anything like that. And that's the reason why these people are afraid of that Overton window shifting, is that the moment that the Overton window shifts and people are able to express those viewpoints, it's going to be exactly what happened with trans people here in the U.S., where as soon as you were able to say anything negative about trans, their popularity and the support went into the shit. And the only reason that it had that much support is because people were afraid to criticize it. Yeah, it immediately crumbles. Yeah, or maybe go to jail. Yeah, maybe you can go to jail for the speech. Exactly, yeah. Because over there, you go to jail if you say something like that. It's still being discussed, or getting fucked in the ass by the rich price gouging us into oblivion. We're just being discussed. Yeah, I think that's true. So like you're saying that like rich people flood the country with illegals in order to overcomplicate things and make it to where like the people fight amongst each other with the migrants. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think you're right. But I also think that two things can be a problem at the same time. Like, I'm against that, and I'm also against those people too. So yeah, it's a distraction. Yeah, in some cases. Would you say the tighter restrictions on patriotic movements in Europe causes the nationalism of European countries to be more extreme than American nationalism? Yes, I do think so. And I think that's one of the reasons is that it is a place where, and I've seen this happen, like we see this happen with COVID. I think COVID's a really great example of this, is that the resounding narrative about COVID right now is that COVID is bullshit. And the way the government handled COVID was also bullshit. And so what happened now is that because so many people believe that, and I think that it would have never happened that way if the government didn't try to exercise some tight control over the communication about COVID. Because after they started really, really tightening down on what you can and can't talk about with COVID, then people really started getting upset, and that pushed them and alienated them and radicalized them away. And so as soon as you make it to where like a certain viewpoint or opinion isn't possible, like I think also vaccines is a great example of this too. Like there's always been an anti-vax movement ever since like 2008 or so, but now it's been like massively multiplied. Or tell us Sector 10-7, man, I appreciate it. And it's been massively multiplied by the fact that you have the COVID vaccine that's being thrown in the same bucket as the polio vaccine. And I think the COVID vaccine did a tremendous amount of damage to the mistrust of vaccines. And now you have people like RFK, which I don't agree with RFK on a lot of things. There are some things I really agree with him, right? But some things I don't. Vaccines are one of them. I think that vaccines exist on the spectrum, and many of them are extremely safe. And you shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because the mRNA COVID vaccine might be unsafe doesn't mean that the measles or the whooping cough or the polio vaccine is unsafe, right? That's just common sense. I think that, and by the way, I think that's what most people think, right? And so anyway, did it destroy their trust too? It did. It massively destroyed their trust. And so because people couldn't speak out against COVID, I think now the overreaction and then people being against all vaccines in general, I think it is a direct, again, it's kind of like what I said about that Shiloh bill, right? And like the Kamala campaign, like the fundraisers. If Kamala had never got gifts in to go, then that Shiloh fundraiser would not exist right now. It was a direct and proportional response to the fact that a literal murderer made over $500,000 for people supporting his family. It's a counter. Yeah, exactly. RFK is not against all vaccines. You should watch this Dr. Phil interview. Yeah, it's really weird. I hear that he is and that he isn't. If I'm misrepresenting his positions, I apologize. But that's just generally what my understanding is. He said he isn't. Yeah, well, either way, there are people that are. So I'm just really using RFK as an example of a person who's leading that movement, and people in that movement do believe are against all vaccines, definitely. Why would anyone trust vaccines now? Well, because the way that the government handled the COVID vaccine should not be used as a benchmark for how all vaccines should be looked at in the future, right? I mean, that's how I see it. But yeah, this is pretty fucking crazy that they actually just banned the party. AFD is right-wing, so they banned it. Also, Germany will spend all our money and weapons to the guys with Nazi tattoos and symbols. Oh, that's obviously fucking the, that other one. And, wow. Your powers are mine!
This is real firepower!
Trying to ban them, I guess fans were right. Yeah, of course he was. That's just it. They did not ban the party fully. Disappear! No, there's a process to do this, right? So at first you basically make it where they are being surveyed a lot, and then after you survey them all the time, then you transition to real firepower! And then after the sanctions are on them for a while, then you ban them. It takes time. Yeah, it takes time to work out. They're not going to just instantly ban this guy, ban this party like one day.
Donald Trump, along with Elon Musk, have created a new government agency called DOGE. And what I originally thought was just an older sibling giving a younger sibling an unplugged video game controller actually turns into a real thing. And their first order of business was dismantling USAID, an innocent government program that helped poor people all around the world. Or was it? Hello and welcome back to the Shoe on Head channel. I am Shoe on Head and I am not real. I am a figment of your imagination. You have been in a coma since 2012. Wake up. Wake up. Today we will be talking about the dark, seedy underbelly of USAID. This is a topic I've been interested in for a very long time now. And now that recently USAID has been in the news, I figured it is a perfect time to finally talk about it. All the mainstream liberal coverage I've seen of this has basically been late-night talk show hosts crying fake tears about it being dismantled, and all the mainstream Republican coverage has just been about all the woke shit USAID was apparently funding. But I promise you, it is more than that. A lot more. If you're not a very political person and you only come here to consume the Reddit gender war slop, you should still stick around for this because this gets juicy. And remember, even if you're not interested in politics, politics is interested in you. And trust me, I understand why some people aren't interested in politics. It's confusing, it's stressful, it's a lot to keep up with. I feel like 500 things happen every single day. But thankfully, I have a tool to help with that. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this video is sponsored by USAID. Just kidding, this video is sponsored by Ground News. Let's quickly give them a shout out and then we will jump back into the deep dive, shall we? Ground News is a website and an app that gives readers a fun and transparent way to read the news all across the political spectrum, from left, right, and center. Every story comes with a quick visual breakdown of political bias that helps you understand the full story and make sure you're getting both sides. One of my favorite features of Ground News has to be the spot feature. It shows you the stories that have been covered by only one side of the political spectrum and ignored by the other side. For example, here is a story about how Elon Musk apparently pressured the Reddit CEO to moderate content on the site. Right away, we can see that the story has been covered by 12 sources. And out of these 12 sources, 75% came left, and no right-wing sources have covered it. Ground News also makes it really easy to compare headlines to see how political bias or ownership can affect the framing of a story. For example, this right-wing headline about how Trump is taking executive action to make DC safe and beautiful, while this left-leaning headline frames the same story as Trump wants Washington, DC to be Berlin 1939. What? I've been using Ground News for 4 years now because it's great. I love it, and it really helps me see how both sides frame things so differently. Best of all, I'm currently offering 40% off their Vantage plan, which is what I use to access all of their amazing features. This comes out to only $5 a month. That's like the price of a coffee. And it is so worth it. It is one of the first apps I check in the morning. It's great. So go to ground.news/shoe or use the QR code on screen right here, or use the link in the video description down below. Again, that is ground.news/shoe, or click the link down below. I think what they're doing is super important because it helps people approach the news in a more fair and balanced way, and I feel like we need that now more than ever. So thank you to Ground News for sponsoring this video, and thank you, the viewer, for not skipping the ad. Right. Now let's get back to the USAID deep dive, shall we?
Get ready.
So Donald Trump and Elon Musk created the Department of Government Efficiency, aka DOGE. Get it? Like the Reddit meme from 2012? Epic bacon, my fellow memers. Honestly, who am I to talk about dead memes? My username is ShoeOnHead. So DOGE's supposed goal seems to be cutting useless spending the government is making for taxes. Now, I have very mixed feelings about this. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Taxation is theft! The tree of liberty will be refreshed with the blood of tyrants! My opinion has always been, if we are going to pay taxes in this country, could they at least go to things that actually help people, like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, child tax credits, firefighters, fixing our bridges and roads, castrating pedophiles, government-funded girlfriends, things like that. And yes, we should be auditing the government. I think that's a good thing. Frankly, I don't care who does it as long as they do it well. Good things are good, bad things are bad. I'm anti-bad things, pro-good things. Those are my politics. And hating libertarians. Just kidding, I love libertarians. I get along great with them. as long as we don't talk about child labor. Anyway, Doge got straight to work, firing government workers and basically hiring my Twitter mutuals. What was once a theater kid-occupied government is now a right-wing schizo poster-occupied government. No, I am not joking.
So this is a 19-year-old high school graduate who has used the unfortunate nickname Big Balls online, so that would be one way that we could refer to him. He is now working at Musk's behest inside Doge.
If you had told me 10 years ago that Donald Trump and Elon Musk would hire some Zoomer named Big Balls to help audit the government, I'd believe it. Like, yeah, that checks out. They have no relevant experience. Most of them aren't old enough to rent a car. They're not even old enough to rent a car. They're in their 20s. We sent 18-year-olds to go die in the wars you cheerlead on, you evil hag. Why are they so focused on the ages of these people when our government is basically a retirement home? But honestly, I don't blame Hillary Clinton. If I were her, I also wouldn't want 22-year-olds in the government. Months before dismantling the Department of Education, or apparently Sesame Street, Doge's first order of business was dismantling USAID.
Without providing any proof, Elon said USAID is a criminal organization. Oh yeah, they're an international crime syndicate hell-bent on helping people.
Taking money away from the aid program that helps poor people all around the world. Except USAID was not exactly that. In fact, it doesn't even fucking stand for aid. It stands for United States Agency for International Development. It has fuck all to do with aid. But honestly, I don't blame you for thinking it does. After all, they do make the word aid a different color in the logo. Those sneaky bastards. Although it said USAID provides 42% of global aid, the truth is most of those funds are just spent paying US contractors and secretly conducting regime change all around the world. In fact, 80% of all USAID funding goes to just 75 organizations, while only 6% of that goes to aid. And by auditing USAID, Doge exposed the true, real puppet masters behind the secret cabal of evil masterminds funding the woke ideology spreading all around the globe. You. Yes, it was you, American taxpayer. Turns out the deep state was the friends we made along the way. And yes, it's true, we are spending billions of dollars in our tax money to fund things like teaching Sri Lankan journalists how to avoid binary gendered language, combating disinformation in Kazakhstan, promoting inclusion in Vietnam, millions to an Armenian LGBT group, millions to rebuild the Cuban media ecosystem, millions for LGBT causes in the Western Balkans, millions for LGBT activism in Uganda, millions for atheism in Nepal, millions for male circumcision around the world, and $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala. And many other things that were so ridiculous I had to double check to make sure I wasn't being trolled. Taxpayer-funded sex changes in Guatemala? We don't even do that here! Now, you might be saying, Shu, this seems like some stupid anti-woke shit. And yeah, kind of. You got me. But I ask you, young naive liberal, why the f*** was John Bolton once the head of USAID? John Bolton, for those of you who are unaware, is an infamous neocon hack. He's literally criticized Trump for not being enough of a warmonger. Neocon hacks, for those same few of you who are unaware, are the people in our government responsible for meddling with other countries all around the world and getting us into wars for basically funsies. The people who suck the teat of Raytheon, Boeing, etc. The military-industrial complex's favorite Discord kittens. These guys come in shades of red and blue. So why was John Bolton, a red guy, in charge of the same program, USAID, that is sending American taxpayer money to foreign countries to have things like trans pride parades? The truth is, the USAID thing goes a lot deeper than what a lot of Republican commentators are saying. It wasn't just a bunch of libtards in government wasting our money on stupid woke things. No, there's way more than that. You see, it's current year and we can't just do old-fashioned imperialism anymore. The people don't like that. It's a new era, so we have to dress it up in glitter and rainbows. To put it bluntly, USAID is nothing but another form of taxpayer-funded regime change, wearing an innocent mask of aid. Shut up, Shu! You dumb bimbo populist! You reactionary shitlord! You cry, tears running down your fat, retarded face. The United States is just giving foreign countries billions of dollars out of the kindness of their hearts! Oh yeah? I have a lovely bridge on sale down the road. Would you like to buy it? Listen, despite all its faults, I love America, and I love the American people. But if you believe the corrupt, greedy bureaucrats running the deep state of this country do anything out of the kindness of their hearts, you are a sweet, innocent angel, and you need to be protected at all costs. I especially side-eye any leftist who has the nerve to run defense for USAID, especially those who call themselves socialists or commies, considering the fact that USAID was basically originally created to destroy communist countries. Established in 1961 by President John F. Kennedy under the noble guise of aiding developing nations, USAID was, in many respects, an instrument during the Cold War to counter Soviet influence and keep the Third World from crafting its own socioeconomic model. A year after President John Kennedy created USAID in 1961, he told his directors that, as we do not want to send American troops to a great many areas where freedom may be under attack, we send you. It wasn't long before the CIA spotted an opportunity to extend its reach. In 1962, USAID launched its Office of Public Safety to send agents around the world under the guise of training police officers. But as it turned out, the trainers were busy teaching enhanced interrogation techniques, a euphemism for torture. The scandal broke out in 1966, and although the office was finally shut down in 1974, the dark practices persisted within military and intelligence circles. By 1980, USAID Administrator John Gilligan was candid enough to describe the agency as nothing more than a graduate school for the CIA. At one time, many aid field offices were infiltrated from top to bottom with CIA people, he said. It was pretty well known in the agency who they were and what they were up to. The idea was to plant operatives in every kind of activity we had overseas, government, volunteer, religious, everything. USAID was quickly nicknamed as CIA's Oh, and here's John Bolton holding a trophy given to him by USAID in the shape of a hand grenade. Yeah, nothing to see here, folks. So let's talk about Zune Zaneo, shall we? Sit down. I love this story. Taken directly from Wikipedia, Zune Zaneo was an online social networking and microblogging service created by the United States Agency for International Development, aka USAID, and marketed to Cuban youth. It was covertly developed as a long-term strategy to encourage Cuban youths to revolt against the nation's government. The developers aimed to use non-controversial content, such as sports and music, to build up subscribers and then to slowly introduce political messages through social bots to encourage dissent in an astroturfing initiative. So basically, USAID created a fake-ass social media platform in Cuba with our tax dollars, flooded it with bot content about like sports and music and whatever, just to make it seem normal, then slowly started to manipulate the users and create political division on the app between Cuban citizens in order to create political chaos in this country and a potential uprising. So yeah, how dare we take money away from those starving undercover agents? To make things even more sus, the money we spent on Zune Zaneo was publicly documented as an unnamed project in Pakistan. Yes, this fake-ass social media psyop they created in Cuba was documented by our government as being a project in Pakistan. Now, let's think of all the other weird shit USAID was supposedly funding. Those sex changes in Guatemala. Were they really sex changes in Guatemala? Or were they some covert psyop being done somewhere else in the world? I guess we'll never know now. Using social media to divide the masses and create political division.
This is a nice
You don't think... No. They wouldn't do that. I mean, it's kind of weird they asked the former founder of Twitter to help with this project, but no. They would only do social media psyops in other countries, right? Right? In March 2024, a document was exposed that revealed USAID was running covert psyops all around the internet in order to combat populist misinformation about the government on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, and 4chan. Although its internal justification was halting the flow of mis- and disinformation, it seemed particularly concerned with malinformation, a concept it defines as speech that is factually correct but misleading, i.e., bothersome truths the U.S. government would prefer the public does not know. USAID suggests directing the public toward mainstream corporate sources of information and psychologically inoculating them against inconvenient facts that challenge US power by pre-bunking information before people see it. Pre-bunking includes discrediting the brand, the credibility, and reputation of those making false allegations. In other words, a state-directed attack against alternative media and critics of the US government. So basically, USAID was funding a bunch of dorks to go all around social media and be like, source? Every time someone criticizes the government. This is somehow more pathetic than when I used to use armed subreddit. That is basically what our government was doing. Also, I like how this implies that people who call the Fed online might have actually been a Fed. There is a chance that you may have fought with a federal agent, a USAID federal agent, on Twitter or 4chan. This also implies that, like, streamers and social media influencers may have been funded by USAID. But who? Who among us? Who would be willing to unquestionably, enthusiastically suck establishment that hard?
For all the bad stuff America does around the world, USAID is just an organization that did a lot of nice things. Like, it put a lot of money into efforts to help people in a variety of ways, like both materially and culturally. It's just like a nice way for the United States to have a positive presence around the world.
For the record, I do not actually believe that Destiny is being funded by USAID. I just thought that transition was funny. I fucking love that quote though. USAID was just a nice organization that did a lot of nice things, like culturally help people around the world. Culturally help people? Why are we in the business of cultural imperialism? Why do we have to culturally enrich Latin America or the fucking Balkans? So not only are we the world police, but we are now the world HR department? No thank you. Why are we spending billions of dollars doing ass shit in other countries while ours crumbles? I don't care about teaching gender studies to Ugandans. The pothole in front of my house hasn't been filled in 3 years. These are my taxes, and I believe my taxes should go to help people in my country. I don't think that's controversial to say. And I know many conservatives agree with me. I'll always hear them say, we can't be spending money in Ukraine. We have to take care of our own.
Bro.
And then they just don't take care of their own. Because that's socialism or communism or something. Listen, do you actually want to take care of your own? Do you actually want your taxes to go towards helping poor and sick and families in this country? Are you actually America first, or are you corpos and foreign countries first? I'm more than happy to work with you on good things. But I don't think the establishment GOP is.
You don't want able-bodied workers on a program that is intended, for example, for single mothers with 2 small children who just can't use it. That's what Medicaid is for. Not for 29-year-old males sitting on their couches playing video games. We're going to find those guys and we're going to send them back to work.
First of all, Medicaid is for anyone who needs it, period. And second of all, 29-year-old guys? You mean your fucking voter base? You mean the very demographic that is shifting the entire country in your direction? Those guys? Yeah, we're just wasting so much money helping young men. Those greedy gamers just gobbling up all the tax money. Not massive tax cuts to corporations and the rich. Not all the money to the bloated military-industrial complex. No. Gamers. Young men who can't find a job, can't afford a house, can't afford college. Young men who can't build a family because of the society you created. Those guys, they need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and pay for their own Medicare. This care isn't for them. It's for women. What? Great to know both sides of the establishment fucking hate young men. Anyway, sorry, I popped off. Let's get back on topic. Now, USAID did do some good things. I won't deny that. But even some of the good things that USAID did were nothing but a bunch of fronts. Using Cuba as an example again, because these are some of the only ones that have been exposed so far, there was a USAID program called the Travelers Project that was said to be an HIV prevention workshop. But yet again, it was nothing but another covert regime change psyop. This was exposed in 2014 by the Associated Press. Young Venezuelans and Peruvians were deployed by USAID to Cuba's college campuses for $5.41 an hour. Really, USAID? Billions of dollars forced feminizing mice, and you can't even pay your spies a living wage? Sad. Anyway, they were used to recruit college students into political organizations with the goal of turning them against their government. The goal of, once again, creating political division. In the exposed memos about this, USAID called their HIV workshop the, quote, perfect excuse. Right. But we're totally funding DEI in Vietnam for pure humanitarian reasons. This was done so sloppily that even our boy John Bolton came out and disavowed it, but not without saying he thought it was a good idea in principle. Yes, it's a great idea to create taxpayer-funded secret psyops all over the world in order to switch other countries' politics. Just don't recruit teenagers to this time, okay? What? I honestly just think it's kind of funny we were funding anti-socialist agendas all around the world and disguising it as social progressivism. Don't think too hard about that one. Now, Cuba wasn't the only place USAID was culturally helping. On January 12, 2010, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake struck Haiti, and 220,000 people, injuring another 300,000 and leaving 1.5 million more homeless. In the wake of the catastrophe, the United States provided $1.6 billion in reconstruction funding to Haiti, $651 million of which went to USAID. Rather than employing Haitian construction companies, USAID contracted out the rebuilding projects to international firms. For instance, Minnesota-based construction firm Thor was awarded $18 million in contracts, and Mexico-based firm Cemex received over $7 million. But by far the largest recipient of USAID funding in Haiti was Washington, D.C.-based contractor Chemonics International, who received over $200 million to carry out a total of 141 projects. In fact, USAID awarded more money to Chemonics than to the entire Haitian government in the wake of the earthquake. An audit conducted on Chemonics revealed that the company had a tendency to not finish jobs, evaluated its own project on arbitrary criteria not having to do anything with the project, and failed to set timelines, causing some projects to fall behind schedule. In one case, Chemonics was contracted to build Haiti's new parliament building, but what they constructed came out half-finished and unused. The company only built the framework of the building, not even erecting interior walls to divide office spaces, nor did they bother to furnish the building. Left with this, the Haitian government was forced to draw $775,000 from its public treasury to complete the project. Despite these disastrous results, Chemonics to this day remains USAID's top contractor. The construction company was awarded $506.4 million in contracts in 2021 alone. In a leaked email exposed by WikiLeaks, they described this tragedy as a gold rush, ensuring that it would be great for international companies. Seems like the only thing they are culturally helping is their own wallets, am I right? And you know how you always hear about how poor people are in Venezuela and how the politicians are so rich and live in luxury? Yeah, part of that has to do with USAID. Billions of dollars of aid we sent to Venezuela just lined the pockets of US-backed politicians. Only 2% of the aid we sent to Venezuela actually went to help Venezuelans. So at this point, the whole world was basically sick of USAID's bullshit. In 2013, Bolivian President Evo Morales expelled USAID officials from his country on the grounds that the agency had conspired against his government by allegedly manipulating social movements in the country. He also charged that a previous USAID program that sought to help cocoa farms switch to new crops was politically motivated. Russia expelled the agency in 2012 for similar reasons. Its foreign ministry argued in a statement that USAID attempts to influence political processes through its grants. And in February, Kenyan Cabinet Secretary Francis Kimimya claimed that his government had evidence that USAID had hired activists to organize anti-government protests in Nairobi in an effort to topple the government. Oh, and if you're wondering why so many news outlets and journalists were freaking out over the potential shutting down of USAID, yeah, it's probably because it's where their paychecks were coming from. Yeah, apparently USAID was funding about 6,200 journalists and 707 news